Hi guys, welcome back to the show. Something very special today. We've got a rare interview with Mahsam Raza, the man behind NonDoer fragrances. Here's just some of my very extensive collection of scents from this brand. They've also just launched a new range of fragrances, which are a collaboration between Mahsam Raza and Pakistani celebrity Faisal Qurashi. Join me as we find out all about Mahsam Raza and NonDoer fragrances. Before we get into the video, guys, don't forget to use my code MR15 for 15% off at myfragrancesamples.com, my recommended place to buy fragrance samples in North America. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a very special episode. It's another fabulous interview. And as many viewers would have seen, we've had some fantastic guests on the channel over the last year or so, many of them from the world of YouTube, but also many people from the world of perfume brands. And today it's that category very much because we have the fabulous Mahsam Raza of NonDoer fragrances here for a very rare interview. Hello, Mahsam.
Hey, brother. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely great. Doing great here over in the UK, and you are down in LA, I believe.
Yes, sir. In LA, warm and sunny LA. Spring has started.
I wish I could. On the calendar, it says spring here, but it still feels pretty grim. So I'm kind of jealous about that. So you're at the NonDoer HQ, yes?
I am at the NonDoer HQ right now, correct.
Okay, fantastic. What we're going to do then, guys, is we're going to dive in. I've got about 10 questions for Mahsam, and we're going to find out a little bit more about him, about what's going on with the brand, his current ventures, and dive deep into the world of Mahsam and NonDoer fragrances. Just to introduce you to viewers who may not know, NonDoer fragrances, a brand which started, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it emerged in 2016. Has been well known throughout our online fragrance community since then. Loads of videos with people reviewing the fragrances you can find on YouTube, and an ever-expanding base of fragrances, which has evolved in many very exciting and different ways. So we're going to find out a bit more about that. I'm going to link in my description of the video, the link to the NonDoer website will be down there, and you can check them out. So let's get stuck into it. Mahsam Raza, where did you grow up? How did life start? What were you doing before you did NonDoer fragrances?
So I grew up partially in Pakistan. I was born in Pakistan, 1987. Came to the U.S., I believe, when I was 6 or 7, 4th grade. And then I did my schooling from all the way from 4th grade till high school in the U.S. here locally in L.A. So L.A. local, you can call me. And then moved to Dubai, did my bachelor's and master's in Dubai, and then I was actually working for a U.S. government contractor in Dubai from 2011 to 2015 before I moved back home.
So that was a life before perfume, but I expect it was somewhere in the background. So the next question and I pretty much ask all my guests here, how, why, and where and when did you become seriously into fragrances?
Oh, see, that question I love because that goes back to childhood.
Okay.
Dad, he was a perfume lover, perfume collector, and I remember the first time I ever used a perfume was probably in the 3rd grade. It was in Pakistan right before we moved to the U.S.
Wow.
I went to school. I was into karate. It was a thing. It was from a white belt to a yellow belt transition competition, and I wore my dad's Eternity, and I lost the competition being a puny kid, obviously, but everyone was like, you smell amazing, like from the karate coach to all the parents there to even the kids, like, you smell really good. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then from there, that's where the curiosity sparked, and it just grew to the point where I just started collecting and buying a bunch of fragrances and just wanted to know more about fragrances. And from there, it just sunk in deeper and deeper, and it reached to this point.
Yes. Okay. So you were very, very young doing that karate competition.
That was probably like 5, 6.
Yeah, okay, right. That is definitely young. Okay, impressive. And yeah, the last place, surely that your fragrance matters, but it obviously mattered to you that day. Made up for the defeat in the competition, no doubt. Okay, so. Okay, you're into fragrances. Your dad's into them. Collects them. You've always liked them. At what point did you start sort of learning how to make them? How did that lead into what we have today, NonDoer fragrances? So how did you go from someone who liked perfumes to the man with a huge perfume brand?
So that happened around 2013, I would say. I got my job in 2011, 2013. Yeah, 2013. I used to travel a lot for work, and I was in Barcelona And when I crossed over the bridge to Nice, I went into a perfume brand boutique, and I was wearing something, and the perfumer there, I cannot name him for obvious reasons. The perfumer of that small boutique smelled something on me. It was a layering of Amen with Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. So he smelled that on me, and then he was like, "Oh, young man, what are you wearing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm wearing." I didn't know he was who he was at that time, and I was like, "Oh, I'm wearing Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. Have you ever heard of it?" And then there's this fragrance called Angel Man by Thierry Mugler. I layered these two together, hence you smell a little. I smell a little different. He's like, "Oh, why did you choose these two layerings?" And I was like, "Why did you choose these two to layer?" I'm like, well, the tobacco and the vanilla, creates this nice warm feel from the tobacco vanille, and I love Angel Man on its own. That tar, the dark chocolate, and all those gourmand caramel notes.
Yeah, I
So
can see those
adding
two could
that,
work. Yeah, yeah,
adding
yeah.
that into a tobacco vanille, it might just create something new. He was like, "I like your creative process. Walk with me downstairs. I'm the owner of this boutique." I'm like, "Oh." So he takes me to his lab downstairs, and he has a perfumer's organ, and he's like, "Would you like to create something?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "You can take it away with you. I'm not going to charge you. It'll be a souvenir." I'm like, "Awesome, great. This is awesome." This is 2013. He sits me down and like just gives me a bunch of these little pipettes and just a petri dish, and he's just like, "Grab an oil of this." I had no idea what I was doing, but I did see the name Tobacco Absolute, this Mandarin, blah 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 blah, Vanilla Absolute, CO2 extracted roast. This is it. So I'm just adding a bunch of these drops and like some cotton musk and da da da, and we mix it up, and he turns it into a spray format, add some alcohol to dilute it, and we spray it, and it's like I'm like, wait a minute, this smells like 85% to the layer I did right now. What is this, right? So he literally created something right there, like what I was
Right.
wearing.
Yeah, yeah.
That got me really, really intrigued. He's like, "Well, yeah, this is what we did," and da 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 da. He wrote it down for me, and he's like, "Where do you live?" Da da da. And I'm like, "Well, I live in Dubai. I'm just here on vacation. I'm here on work." Da da da. So I see. And he's like, "Well, when you go back to Dubai, I want you to meet up with a few friends of mine. It seems like you have a talent and artistic mind for creating perfumes." I'm like, "Oh, interesting. I have a very good career job." I thought he was offering me a job. He's like, "No, no, no, just go hang out with them and just see how the perfuming process works." I'm like, "Sure." So when I returned back to Dubai after my travels, I was sitting in my office one fine day. It was a Thursday evening. Weekend at that time in Dubai was Friday, Saturday. It was a Thursday evening in office. And I just happened to be cleaning out my email, arranging all the cards I got on the travel, and his card popped up. I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Oh, you know what? Let me give this guy a call." The guy he told me to call. Gave him a call. It was actually Amar Atma, who was Pierre Montel's partner for Montel,
Wow.
basically. So
Okay.
he invited me over to his factory in Jebel Ali, where they used to do Montel International, which was the Middle Eastern
Yes.
division of Montel
Yeah.
Paris, and then eventually it all became one again afterwards.
Yeah.
When Amaratma sold it back to Pierre Montel, but it was Montel International, and I would hang out at their factory in Jebel Ali, and I would just see, their chemists and their people in lab coat with these machines, and they're running GCs at that time. So at that time, I didn't know what a GCMS was, obviously, right? But
Okay, I better just come in there because some viewers may not know what these terms mean. So Pierre Montal, of course, the man behind obviously Montal fragrances and Mansera as well, very big fragrance brand around the world. And the G explain for our
GCMS.
GCMS. What exactly does that mean, please?
That's the computer and the reverse machine that's used to reverse engineer a fragrance, basically.
Thank you. That's the word. Yes, I'll put that on the screen. So that is the machine that allows, and most of the big fragrance brands have one of these somewhere, so they can understand any perfume.
Every single
Yeah.
brand in this world who makes fragrances and is at a scale level, they have it in house in their labs. They're testing these. Every single fragrance that's coming out, everyone's testing these to know what's in it, why it's selling, just to crack the next big thing in the market, obviously, right? So it's a pretty fair practice at this point.
We don't hear many people in the business talk about that, so it's very interesting that you give us that insight, and that we get that insight into how this works.
That's one of the things I do wrong, is because since day one I've been so transparent, and I've always gotten backlash for being transparent, and it's always been like, should I just not open my mouth or just be quiet? It's like, no, people like transparency. We're an honest business, so I'm going to share how we do things, and I get backlash for it. So it's like, eh. What are you gonna do?
Well, I respect you for being transparent. I think viewers will definitely enjoy the insight that we get there. Okay, so you're being mentored by Pierre Montal and other
It was
people that he.
actually Pierre Montel's Middle Eastern partner, Amr Atma.
Okay, okay, all right.
And I
I'll
actually
put.
even have a picture with him, and I wrote this whole article about the thing between Montel Paris, Pierre Montel, and
Yeah.
between Montel International, the Middle Eastern version, which was led by Amr Atma. I
Okay.
even wrote up this big, long 5 paragraph thing on Fragrance Guru Nation. It's still out there. You guys can look it up, actually.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
so right. I mean, we could talk for hours about how this. I mean, there's a lot
we
to talk
can.
about here, how you go. But what I'll try and break it down. So basically, you're then learning the craft of perfumery, but also I think you admit with an eye to how you can analyze other people's stuff and recreate that and do your own versions of that too. So you're learning a lot about how the world of perfume and the
During
perfume
my spare
business
time with a full-time job,
with
absolutely,
still a
yes.
full-time job.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's transition to the next stage because by 2016, we get Doer fragrances. So how did you start with Doer? What made you think, okay, I'm changing career to do? I mean, it's a remarkable story because I don't walk into a perfumery and get taken downstairs. But anyway, how did you transition from the old career to this? When did Doer start?
That was a complete luck by chance. I actually got laid off from my very well-paying job in Dubai.
Oh,
Had no job, and in Dubai, if you don't have a job, you don't have a visa. You can't stay there. So I was like, okay. So me, my mom, my wife, my 1-year-old baby at that time, and my wife was pregnant at that time. So we came back home to California, and I was looking for jobs, but everything I was finding, which was like in government contracting, because that's what I used to do, subcontracts on behalf of the Department of State, Department of Defense, and the United Nations. All the jobs were in the East Coast, where it's too cold, New York, Maryland, DC, and all those areas. So I was getting
okay,
jobs, but down there, but nothing in California where I grew up. So my
okay,
family didn't want to move down there. So my mom was one fine day was like, I have $25,000. This is my life savings. You're crazy about perfumes. You're probably never going to be able to work under someone anyways. You just have a weird mind. Why don't you give this a shot and start your own perfume brand? It may just take off. So here's $25,000,
wow,
and you never know what happens, right? So I was actually
okay,
praying when she gave me that check, and I was praying that hopefully I can find a good job, 100,
yeah,
$150,000 job in California instead of having to
yeah.
go out there in New York or something and do a fragrances. That's where it came prayer, because the check came while I was praying to start my own brand. So from there,
Okay, so
we just
just
kickstarted it. Yeah.
forgive me. What does doer mean?
Dua means prayer.
That's a hell of a leap in the dark, really, because you've been used to a well-paying job. I mean, I could probe you more on the what your job involved, but it sounds kind of intriguing. But we'll stick to the perfume. But you've gone from a nice, secure salary, which is gone. Then you must be thinking, okay, for myself, for my family, it'd be better just to get a nice, secure, similar kind of job. That's a nice, very generous amount of money, but it's not a vast amount of money to start a
It's not.
business with. So you must, and I think I do know this from seeing the old booth where you started up with Doer. It started on a fairly humble level, didn't it? Doer fragrances.
Yeah, it was. We had a small 5 by 5 or a 6 by 3-sided kiosk at a mall, outlet mall. At that time, it was just like I would make fragrances on the spot. Like people can just smell the raw materials. And I'll just blend a fragrance for them on the spot. And we didn't have a website at that time. Started selling on Facebook and everything. And yeah, it's like at that time, it was just like when using my creativity that I have, I can probably make enough that I would at a job, right? So it was like,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it'll be a fun gig. Let's see where it goes, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I'm a double MBA. I'll find a job for $150,000. I'll be okay. I wasn't worried about that part, right? It may
Right.
take some
Okay.
time, but eventually I will find a job. If it means moving to New York, so be it. I have a job, right? But the way Dua just started exploding into the fragrance industry when we came on board, because we were the pioneers of the model you see today. Everyone's doing it now, right? Inspirations, hybrids, everyone's doing it. We were the first company who legitimized clones for the fragrance industry, literally. Um,
This is, I
And
think that's, yeah, you were the
that
ones who
just,
really exploded it. Well, let's talk about that then. So you say in the booth you were sort of making bespoke things where you would mix them on the spot, but it quickly became that the main thing you were known for, of course, was recreating other people's fragrances. So I
correct,
remember in your
correct.
very early days, I wish I'd pulled out this one, but you sent me really early on the Millesime Imperial and Silver Mountain Water versions that you have,
I
which
remember
is
the
called
ones with the gold cap,
Imperial. Yes, the old style cap, Imperial Pastique and
Water of Arabia.
Water of Arabia. Brilliant name. And I saw a couple of people had done videos on them on YouTube. I was really intrigued, and I was able to get in touch with somebody, and you guys very kindly sent them. And these really took off in the community because they were very, very good reproductions of well-known fragrances, but they definitely seemed to be very rich and last longer in many cases than the original fragrances. And also, you had that big one, wasn't it? The Roger Dove Enigma smell alike, which was
The first variation, which was Evening with the Mobster.
Evening with the Mobster. Yes,
And
and
then
that
if you
really
take
kind of,
Midnight with the Mobster.
and these kind of exploded you a little bit on the fragrance scene. So yeah, how
Correct.
did it go from the booth to the kind of the main thing, I guess, how you've become known, or how it exploded for you was the online world? How did you transition from one to the other?
It just happened. To be honest, I get asked this question a lot, like how did it happen? Like I really don't know how it happened. Like all I know is like I was on Facebook talking to a bunch of people about my fragrances and just telling them I'll send you a sample. Hell, I'll send you a bottle. You don't like it, you keep it. You like it, you pay me $40, right? And fair enough, they would get it, they would like it, and then they would wear it somewhere and they would get compliments. And then, it was like this diamond effect that was created organically. Like two people used it, they went out, used it, two more people liked it, they came and bought it, and they became to our customers. They went out and used it, and then two more people got added on, and like it just organically grew. And to date, we're in 2022.
Mm.
We just started digital marketing, like Facebook ads and stuff like that, just a month ago. Just a
All
month
right.
ago, and
Yeah.
we've just and this was one of the things we weren't doing for like the past 6 years, and it was just all organic, and we just started doing that. And just by barely turning the switch on there, we've seen boom, like so we're like whoa, 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 like this, take a step
Yeah.
back. There's many things we have to make sure we do as a business, because now I have to start thinking of this as a proper business instead of just a pet project, like, oh yeah, it feeds my family. No, there's like worldwide, there's like 30 people working for Dua,
Wow.
VPs, CMO, CFOs, like people who are living off of Dua, like their yearly wages are up there,
Yeah.
right? So it's become way bigger than just like, oh, like I like this fragrance, I want to put it out there. If it goes, it goes. Now it needs to start running as a business now, so we're restructuring quite a few things and
Yeah.
hiring some experts to help us do that, obviously, and lead that side of things for the business. So yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, yeah. I must say, I've never seen yeah, I haven't seen Facebook or Instagram ads massively popping up from Doer. So it has been, yeah, very organic the way it's grown. The YouTube people, there's quite a few people who've really liked your fragrances. There's a Facebook group, but yeah, I don't get anything like over the top in your face. So yeah, it seems you do have this kind of organic following. But I do notice that you've got a real tendency for people who get into Doer fragrances to have sometimes a huge shelf full of them. So once people get into them, they really kind of get addicted in a healthy way.
They,
And
yeah.
there's something about the bottles that they look kind of so neat lined up together. There's a real tendency you
It's a
want.
form of art, right? It's a form
Yeah.
of art. Like we try our best to pick a graphic, and now that we have designers in house, now we're creating graphics instead of just like picking a graphic and throwing it on the label. We're creating graphics now. So again,
Yeah.
graphics to reflect the actual fragrance. Obviously, that goes into branding. We just hired a new
Yeah.
CMO as well, so he's leading that project on the branding effort for Dua. So so yeah, no, the labels are super cool.
I love them. They're very just that you just want more and more. And you want to line them all up. I just want to talk about the smells then. So you started off, of course, you were known for the inspired expressions, which some people call clones of other people's stuff. But then it evolved. You've not before too long. You had a few originals coming in there. Then there was one period where the big thing was the hybrids, where you would mix Aventus with Virgin Island water or Baccarat Rouge, and you're still doing those.
Mhm.
And then after that, I can't even keep up with so many different things that have happened. So my next actual proper question that I was supposed to ask you what is the latest big story with Doer and other ventures? Where are you now? What's your main thing now?
Right now, our main thing is that we're consolidating everything we do as a business. So, like for the past 6 years, everything was just like, oh, we need extra space. Spend that few grand, just get that extra space, and let's just make sure we're continuously growing. Now that we have grown so much, we're consolidating and like kind of rearranging everything. Separating manufacturing out of fulfillment. So now that we're going to be doing that, we're going to have a lot more space in our fulfillment warehouse because if it's only just Dua. So what we're now doing is we're launching our Amazon store very soon. It's going to be by the Dua Group. We've taken distribution. We've taken distribution of a Pakistani celebrity's personal brand. Turmeric capsules, olive and lemon, for digestive support, vitamin face serums and face washes, like really 100% vegan and like really upscale, like the best you can actually get. Like ISO 9001 certified factory manufactured stuff with like all the documents for like worldwide. We're going to be putting those up on Amazon. That's one thing we're doing. We're looking for more brands and trying to collaborate with them to start an Amazon venture there. That's under the Dua Group now. It's no longer just the Dua brand. We've consolidated everything under the Dua Group, and each brand and each division falls under the group. So the Dua brand is a division of the Dua Group now.
I see. It's more than just a fragrance brand now. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Speaking of which,
we're actually going to be launching our own YouTube channel finally. So it's long overdue. The Dua brand YouTube channel, and it's going to be a little different than the traditional fragrance channel. Whereas we are going to be inviting people from the Fragcom to Dua HQ. We'll give them a ticket, give them a 2-day hotel stay. All that's required is a 3-hour commitment that you're going to give us 3 hours on Saturday afternoon at Dua HQ. They can do a sniffing session, tour the warehouse, meet the team so they actually can put faces to the people behind the brand and the company and like really build that personal relationship with us. And we'll do a 1-hour podcast. They can record it with me. We can talk about lifestyle, fragrances and stuff. And we'll put that out on our YouTube channel. And with that, I'd like to give you a formal invitation. We're going to be starting with 5 people initially, and I would love it if you were one of the first 5 to actually come onto the channel for that podcast. So it would be an honor.
Very honored. I don't know how you think I'm one of the top 5, but I'm very grateful that you do. So thank you. I'll graciously accept. And I've actually never been to the States, so this will be very exciting. I have met you before. I have met you before in London twice, but to see you on your side of the pond would be absolutely great. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing your how it all works over there.
Yes.
So on the subject of your expanding brand, Massam FQ. You sent me these very kindly. Is this a collaboration with a Pakistani celebrity? Is that right?
That's exactly what it is. FQ is a collaboration with a Pakistani multi-star megastar. His name is Faisal Qureshi. Those are the bottles. Black bottles are for men. The white bottles are for women. He's the creative director behind the scents. We put them together, obviously, and
beautiful.
Basically bottled his sense of, because he's a fragrance lover himself. His favorite fragrance is actually Perfumes de Marly Leighton. So
that's his signature scent.
That's his signature scent. Yeah. So he loves leather and really harsh fragrances, like really heavy ones. So if you see Mysterios, it's
it lived up to the name, that one. Yeah. So sorry, what's the name of the celebrity?
Faisal Qureshi.
Okay, I'll put a little picture up and an image there, and Mysterious. My nose for blind sniffing fragrances is not the best in the world, but do I detect this as an oud fragrance? Yes. Okay. I like it. Very wearable though. They're really nice. I'm really impressed.
Very wearable, but very punchy. Like really, like that stuff.
That's
potent. If you spray it on your jacket right now, literally,
it
won't go away for a week.
for that reason, I perhaps won't do it, but I'm impressed on first sniff. Really, really liking it. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, always so hard to keep up with you. I think you've still got some original fragrances coming out. As viewers will know, I'm a great advocate of some of your recreations or resurrections of things like Rive Gauche, Pour Homme, River Fougère. I've told viewers how much I love that one. Pour Homme is a fantastic resurrection of Dolce & Gabbana.
We got one in the work that you're gonna love as soon as it's ready.
Oh, really?
It's gonna
Okay.
be the vintage Creed Tabron, the formula from 1875.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. And how did you manage to source a bottle or sample of that?
I have a flacon of it, and I got lucky. It was here locally in LA. I forgot the name of the boutique. It's out in the valley. I
Yeah.
went there to pick up a few fragrances, and he just happened to have these few gems just sitting in the back, and I was like, "Ooh, can I
Wow.
get that? Can I get that? Can I get that?" And I opened them up. It was a Scottish lavender, um, orange spice, and vintage tabron. So it was these three flacons he had. I'm like, "Can I just buy these?" And they were sealed. Like I opened them myself, and they were fresh. They were perfect. So it was like
Oh,
awesome.
beautiful.
And he
Yeah,
didn't even
I
know what he
mean,
was sitting on, so he actually gave it to me at a really good price.
oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, you've certainly gone to great lengths, I know, to source some really rare fragrances out there that are really hard to find, and which allows you to do the recreations. I've got one last one that I really love, and I must have never smelt the original because it's so hard to find, is your version of Green Valley by Creed, which I still think is wonderful. Vert Instinct, and just such a fresh, invigorating. If you thought Green Irish Tweed was the ultimate Creed fragrance, I don't know, maybe Green Valley is even better. So I love what you do with the freshies. I love that you somehow make these beautiful, zesty, fresh fragrances that hang around a really, really long time. So this is one of the reasons I've been very happy to be able to keep featuring Doer ones on my website, because on my YouTube channel, because I love fresh fragrances. I love old school fragrances, and I know you do too. And I do quite like getting the odd compliment and getting noticed, and Doer fragrances, they do deliver that. And I get a lot of feedback from people saying, you know what, I bought this one and you're right, I like it. I'm really happy that someone's made a video about that. So that's why I'm still a big advocate of what you guys do. I love it. However, I'm going to ask you the hard hitting question now, Massam. What do you say to the people who criticize Doer and say you basically just make clones and there's no originality in what you do? How do you respond to that?
I would say that they're partially correct, right? There is no
Okay.
originality in making clones. I definitely agree to that part. I'm not going to deny that factor. However, we do have originals, and the hybrids, tribrids, and the quadbrids we can easily release them as originals, and no one would even know that it's a quadbrid. However, we still remain ethical and marketed that, listen, it's a combination of four fragrances as one. So if you don't like that model of ours, by all means, please try our originals. I assure you they are unmatched. They're manufactured in the same factories where all of our clones are done, like where I'm not going to throw names out there anymore, but like
Mm.
where every single major niche brand and designer brand you can think of get their material from, that's where we're getting our stuff from as well. So it's the best of the best of the best the modern world in perfumery can possibly offer. So our original, they're groundbreaking, they're different. It brings my own fragrance enthusiast out to, okay, what new can be done, right? And we've been doing a few bespokes for our customers. We just did one for Will Burge. He's a chef. Uh, he has a company called Mealbox. Does meal prep services. He reached out, like, hey, can we do a favor? I'm like, sure. We made it. He loved it. It is exactly to his specs, and we released it to our Dua fan base. Everyone loved it. We just did one for Alexandra Short, a vanilla-based fragrance. She loved it. We've sold out twice on it now, and we're about to do a 100 ml bottle on that one. Again, it was a customer's feedback, like, oh, can you do create something like this for me? Great. We'll spend the money. We'll do the R&D. I'll put in my time. I'll involve my team, my chemists and everyone, our machines and everything to help create your personality and bottle it. But you got to allow us the chance to release a few bottles to the public with credit to you, and we'll obviously make our money as a business that way. But we're still delivering on the passion. So with those things in mind,
Yeah.
please do give our original a try. We're not just a clone company, not anymore. We're working in the back end to bring out more products, more originals, and literally, I'm a probably day and night with my chemist and my team, just coming up with the next best fragrance ideas, right? Like we're probably going to be releasing upwards of, if I can see that board correctly, we're probably going to be releasing upwards of 10 originals just next month. You know.
Yeah, there's huge variety in what you do. That I think anyone would have to acknowledge that nowadays. Although, yeah, it may have started with the inspired expressions being the main thing. It's way beyond that now. And just one point, I know you've made this point before, and you alluded to it there. You do have access to all the best fragrance oils that the best brands would be using too. Yeah, we're not talking. Some people think there's something called a clone oil or something separate to normal fragrance oils, but you're using all the same ingredients. You know, the best that money can buy, effectively.
The best that money can buy. So our whole thing is, when we reverse a fragrance, right? We always go after a 1-to-1 ingredient match, not necessarily a 1-to-1 smell match, right? Because obviously, as a perfume lover, I have to involve my nose in there, right? So, for example, if I'm smelling Fave Delicious, right? I personally think if it had a little bit more tonka bean, it would have been awesome. But now, when we're doing the duo version, I have the DNA of Fave Delicious. Now I can put my twist on it and amp up the tonka bean a little bit more, or do less dilution of the actual tonka bean with fractionated coconut oil or whatever, so the tonka bean comes through a little bit more. I can do that in my variation, so it's 90% close, tonka bean a little bit amped up. That's my twist on it. But the ingredient match is 1-to-1. Go and get the original tested, go and get my tested, and compare the reports for the material. And if it comes off, except for the oud, come sue me at this point, literally.
All right, impressive. Yeah, no, I think what you do, I'm very fascinated in the whole creative process there of how you do these, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to more of the originals. I think you've got a few on there, hot footing it on their way to me, so I'm going to be hopefully featuring those. Hopefully, in my next video, some Doer originals. So back to the topic of Doer fragrances. What is your a bit of a silly question, but what is your favorite? If you had to pick one right now, your absolute favorite Doer scent?
Absolute favorite, like one that I just would use all the time, would probably be Royal Portugal, because
Portugal,
Creed de Portugal, obviously, you know, it's a special fragrance to me. But it's a very old one, so I want to pick something new. If I were to pick something newer, I'd probably say the one we just did, which is a Fordham and Mason exclusive. If you remember, we actually bought that Roja perfume together when we were in Fordham and Mason.
2 years ago,
the perfume by Roja, Fordham Mason exclusive. We recently
remember.
So we recently released the dual version of that one, and I really love the original. So I think that right now in recent would probably be my favorite release, like in recent times.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, because just for viewers, myself and Massam went to Harrods together, and yeah, you bought quite a, you spent quite a significant amount of money getting some pretty serious perfumes, which was probably just an average day at the office for you to do that. And yeah, it included that Roger. How do we describe it? These Roger
Fordham and Mason, the perfume.
Gotcha.
It was that peach aldehyde kind of a scent. It smelled like a very luxurious soap bar. I don't know if you remember.
I can't remember that in the specific one, but I do remember another occasion you got best citrus, what became best citrus ever, which was Henry Jacques Iroir, which I still treasure. I'm on my second bottle of that from you, and I really, really enjoy what you did with that one. That's almost like an original now, because no one can find the original. I don't think they make it anymore.
So they do make it, but it's very limited. I think it's by invite only now at this point.
Love that one. Okay, so your favorite older DoER, the Bois de Portugal, which you and me both is one of our, if not our all-time favorite, which I love what you did with that one. And your favorite non-DoER fragrance out there, favorite by another brand,
besides Creed Bois de Portugal.
Yes, sorry, good point. Yeah, leaving that one aside.
Man, what have I been using lately that I can't get enough of? It's a vanilla-based fragrance. It's not that very well known. I forgot the brand that makes it, but it's called Vanille de Madagascar. I have the bottle right here. You want me to grab it? So it's basically this one right here. It's called Farmacia SS Annunziata, Firenze, Italy, Vaniglia del Madagascar.
Okay.
It's like almost like a burnt vanilla with some caramel, and like smells like a burnt vanilla pie cookie-ish almost. It's just really, really good. Just
Yeah.
can't get enough of
I
it.
tell you what, some of the Doer gourmands are pretty good as well, aren't they? There was, apart from the freshies that I love, you've got a big history of some very decadent smelling gourmand type fragrances. Okay, I know you're pushed for time, and I'm very grateful to you for giving me your time today, Massam. So, last quick question then. We are both lovers of vintage fragrances, so just hit me with a couple of your most treasured vintage fragrance possessions in your collection.
Ooh, uh, definitely Creed Vintage Tyrone, the 1875 first batch flacon I have. Roja Perfume Royales 1 through 5.
Okay.
Only 50 bottles were ever made, and I believe they were released in 2017, and they were sold out like within a week, and they've never brought those formulations back. They have continued growing their semi-bespoke, but they've never brought those particular fives. Those five definitely, they're special. Oh, there's a Roja semi-bespoke number 5. It used to come in a aluminum canister back when Roja didn't have bottles.
That's going back a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that formulation actually, Saying Bespoke number 5, actually the formula got sold by Roja to someone else,
Right.
to like some printer or whatever. So they're never going to bring that one back. But I have
Okay.
a 70, 80 ml in original packaging of that one, so that one's very special. Dude, there's so much. I just I
Well,
can't even think properly. But like, yeah, there's
that'll
some
do
really
nicely.
really rare stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one which is from Crown Perfumery, before Clive Christian was Crown Perfumery, right?
Yes.
Their original 1669 Baccarat crystal bottle of Marshall, which was
Okay.
reissued in 18 something, like 50 bottles were issued at the bottle number 49 of 50 from that reissued batch of 1800 and something. It's sealed, unopened, like it cost a pretty penny. That was like 20 grand.
No.
You can't even find it anymore. It doesn't exist priceless at this point. It's for the museum that I want to build in the future, to do a
Okay.
museum of fragrances. So that's where that's all going to go in the future.
You
But
paid like 5 figures for it.
yes,
Whoa. Okay.
yes.
I'm impressed. Yeah,
And
your
you know what?
collection
I
must be
haven't even
insane.
opened it because I'm scared because it's so old. I
Oh
want to
my
be able
God.
to open it and decant it like almost immediately without having any disturbances, and I want to do it in my lab in France, which is airtight, like it doesn't catch any oxygen. So I'm waiting. The next time I go to France, I'll take that bottle with me, and eventually. But we're gonna recreate that. Like it has to be recreated.
Has to be done. The mind boggles. Your collection must be absolutely insane. I thought I had quite a lot, but I don't think I've got anything next to you. So,
No, I'm
Massam,
pretty
I
sure
feel
you're
that
gonna do
one interview is grossly inadequate with you, but I'm really grateful that we at least got to the chance to scrape the surface on what's going on with Doer fragrances. So, guys, the link for their website is down in the description of the video. Enormous range of different fragrances which you can go and discover. They do have lovely in-depth descriptions of each one, so you can dip into them. I would recommend you might just want to check out some of the Resurrection series that I've mentioned if you like the old school stuff like me. But there is so much to discover there. I hope you guys will have fun. Always new stuff coming out every week, every month from Doer Fragrances. There's always something new to discover. Massam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
I'm going to have a good rest of my evening, and you have a great afternoon over there in
I will.
LA. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. And sometimes life may stink, but we can always smell good. Bye-bye.